Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the lyrics from Lamb of God Into Oblivion, out March 13th on Epic Records. The album has 10 tracks, 39 minutes in length, and this is the band's 12th full-length studio album. They are an American groove metal band. When it comes to the design of this record, I feel like the album is straightforward. At least it feels straightforward to me, and I think it'll feel straightforward to most everybody listening to it. Having said that, it's not a linear record. It may appear linear at times, but it's not a linear record. The overall sense of commonalities as far as elements that drive the songs play a huge role in what the overall perspective of this album is all about. This is a guitar-focused, guitar-driven record with a lot of heaviness and definitely a lot of aggression. These elements stay true throughout, which, like I said, could create a sense of linearity. Now, this album does a wonderful job alternating songs, because when you feel like the album is getting into that funk, into that linearity aspect of the previous song, kind of feels like this song is the next track going to feel the same way. They throw a curveball at you, musically, vocally, something that changes not too much. It doesn't jolt the record, it doesn't break the flow of the album, but it definitely, redirects the direction of the listener. And that's really important because it allows you to reset to a certain degree, not fully reset, but reset to a certain degree, which makes the album have more of a dynamic output and allows the experience of going through all of these 10 songs a lot more enjoyable, because there's more ebbs and flows. Even though they're not incredible high or low, the changes, the peaks and valleys throughout the record are very minimal, but they're still there. And having those changes, those slight ripples in what the overall experience is, definitely adds to the playability of the album. Once you get into the sound, I already mentioned aggression, heaviness, guitar focus, and guitar driven. The sound really lives off of these three core elements. But how are they presented? First and foremost, I have to talk about the production on this album. It's not a modern production sounding record. I mean, the record doesn't sound crisp or clean or vibrant, but I don't think that's what the band wanted. And I think if you're going to have some ruggedness to it, if you're going to have some aggression to it, some intensity, and if you're going to let the guitars do all the heavy lifting, maybe going with what I would like to call more of a live experience style mix works really well. Works well for the band, works well for this record. It represents the songs perfectly, and it also adds to the overall throwback vibe that this album has. This album definitely brings back memories of the early days of Lamb of God. This album feels like something from around the first three records. Like if you could blend the first three records together, even bring some Burn the Priest music into the mix, this album would fall in line with that era of the band. So for a lot of listeners, I think this is an album that's definitely gonna resonate. I think a lot of the listeners enjoy that era of Lamb of God, and perhaps a return to that era is going to be welcomed by all. I would like to think that this is an album where the band wanted to strip it all down. I get that impression from listening to it. Instead of going with a very super modern, clean production behind this record, creating songs that feel really big, like arena-style sounding songs, I think they went in the polar opposite direction. They said, let's strip it all down. What made Lamb of God Lamb of God? Let's go back to that sound. Let's not recreate any of the previous records, but let's create a record that reminds us of where we came from, and at the same time it represents us how we sound live today. Bringing these two different worlds, the world of where you came from, your roots, to the world of where you are today and how you play and how you sound live, bringing them together into a single record, to me, is the perfect formula for Lamb of God. You don't have to reinvent yourself. You don't have to create something that you've never created before. But you have to give the fans, in my opinion, what the fans want. And if you can mix these two worlds together, I think that's exactly what fans want, and that's exactly what fans are going to get with this record, with the sound that this album has. Now, some people might think or might say that the album, from a production standpoint, at times it feels a little muddy. It's hard to look at the guitar sound and see all the different layers and the different textures. But guess what? When you listen to them live, it's exactly the same kind of experience. So I don't mind that lackluster production from somebody's standpoint, looking at this from a modern from a modern glance, if you will, the album lacks from that perspective. But I think it lacks for that perspective for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. It fits the style of the sound perfectly. The guitars are definitely the main catalyst of this record from a sonic point of view. I love the grooviness on the guitars. I love the riffs. I love the pure natural aggression that they have. They just feel unleashed throughout this entire album. The album just has this pure, visceral output that you see it in the sound and how aggressive, how intense the guitars and overall sound is, but you also see it in the vocal performance. That is a really important aspect. But the guitars, the riffs, the melodies, everything about the guitar playing on this album is Lamb of God at its best. It's like vintage Lamb of God guitar sound, guitar tone, guitar playing. Now the drums on this album sound phenomenal as well. I felt like they gave the tracks a lot of substance, a lot of size, a lot of heaviness. Not overshadowing the guitars is an important aspect when it comes to the mix, but allowing them to be an equal partner in how heavy and how dense the sound comes across at times. I think it bodes well. Now, once you get into the vocals, Randy is vintage. Incredible performance. Talk about visceral. I mean, it feels unleashed, unguarded. Honestly, just really on the edge at times of becoming unhinged. And I really like that because it brings so much intensity. It brings so much aggression on a vocal standpoint. And you need it in order to match what you're already getting sound-wise, which is that same intensity, that same aggression. Vocally, I enjoy this album tremendously. I like the clean vocals that you're going to find throughout this record. I like some of the vocal changes that happen throughout this record. Once again, trying to create some dynamic movements within the album without changing, without jolting the record, but always thinking of the song, always thinking of the purpose of the song, the theme of the song, and then delivering what you need to deliver to bring that idea home. Phenomenal album by the band. I would say this is their best record in 20 years. 20 years. I just love this unfiltered sound. I love the sense of rawness. I love the sense of just being on the edge. I love that live experience. And then when you bring all of that together and you mix in that early Lamb of God, no holds barred, take no prisoners attitude in the music and in the lyrics, perfect formula for me. Best record in 20 years, you heard it here. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with The Killing Floor. The onslaught of heaviness and grooviness on this track from the guitars and drums together is phenomenal. I just really like it. Talk about a song that feels thick, feels raw, feels edgy, feels unfiltered. Then you have the vocals that just match the exact same vibe, the exact same attitude. The chorus on this song is a little bit more groovier, breathes a little bit better, has a little bit more room. The verses feel a little bit more compact, a little bit more dense. And then the second half of the song is definitely a lot groovier, a lot more guitar focus, where the DNA of the band really rises all the way to the surface. It's a great dynamic track because it has a very, it has a clear difference, I should say, from the verses to the chorus, but that is an important aspect that creates the ebbs and flows. And then focusing a little bit more on the guitars in the second half definitely allows the track to feel more dynamic all around. Then you have Blunt Force Blues. Killer riff. Talk about a song that the guitars bring all the boys to the yard. This track definitely has that sort of riffage, that sort of guitar sound. The grooviness is turned all the way to 11. The guitars just sound out of this world, ravenous, like they just sound just visceral. I love the way they come across, very raw in the way they sound, in the way the notes hit, and then the drums complement that aspect. They complement that vibe really well. The vocals sound killer as well. It's just a killer vocal performance on this track that encapsulates the overall intensity and aggression that just bubbling to the surface at every single turn as far as this song is concerned. It's a well-packaged track. It has all the right elements, but once again, this is a track that really lives off of the guitar sound first and foremost, and everything is there almost to just complement what the guitars are doing. Last but definitely not least, 1,000 Years. This is an interesting track because it's a more methodic, darker sounding, feeling, vocally driven song. Definitely has a lot more darkness than any other track on this record. Having a little bit more of a methodic verses adds to that darkness, adds to that feeling, to that vibe. And then having a little bit more of a groovier chorus and a little bit more of an open chorus does well as well, because it doesn't allow the song to completely dive into darkness. It allows the song to have that sense of darkness to it, specifically in the verses and how methodic everything is, the vocals, the sound. But then opening up in the chorus allows the track to expand a little bit more, and it injects some life into the track, helping make it move along a little bit better, a little bit smoother. So it's a great track because it has two definitely different experiences, and in itself it offers a very unique experience within the context of the record. This is it, Lamb of God with Into Oblivion, once again out March 13th on Epic Records. Hit me up in the comment section, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.